In this podcast episode, Ben Shapiro delves into the ramifications of the Duke Lacrosse case, a pivotal moment in American media and social justice narratives that has resurfaced in light of new admissions from the accuser, Crystal Mangum. Shapiro argues that the case exemplifies the dangers of a media landscape that prioritizes speed and sensationalism over accuracy, leading to widespread misinformation and societal damage. Shapiro begins by recounting the events of the Duke Lacrosse case from 2006, where three Duke University lacrosse players were falsely accused of raping Mangum, a stripper. The case ignited national outrage and became a catalyst for movements like Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement, which framed the narrative around systemic racism and sexism in America. Shapiro emphasizes that the media's rush to judgment, fueled by a desire to highlight racial and gender injustices, resulted in significant harm to the accused players, whose lives were irrevocably altered by the allegations. Recently, Mangum admitted that her accusations were fabricated, stating that she lied about the rape to gain validation. This admission, coming nearly 2 decades later, raises questions about the media's role in amplifying false narratives and the consequences of such actions. Shapiro points out that despite the eventual dismissal of the charges against the players, the fallout from the case led to changes in policies regarding sexual assault allegations on college campuses, particularly under the Obama administration's Title IX regulations, which limited due process rights for the accused. Shapiro critiques the media's tendency to latch onto narratives that align with their ideological agendas, often at the expense of truth. He cites the Duke Lacrosse case as a prime example of how elite media outlets and university faculty members rushed to support the accuser without sufficient evidence, leading to a public outcry that overshadowed the rights of the accused. The media's portrayal of the case as a racially charged crime reinforced existing societal narratives about race and privilege, further polarizing public opinion. The podcast also touches on the broader implications of false allegations, noting that they can fuel movements that require a constant supply of outrage to sustain momentum. Shapiro draws parallels between the Duke Lacrosse case and other high-profile incidents, such as the Rolling Stone article about a supposed gang rape at the University of Virginia, which was later debunked. He argues that these false narratives have lasting effects on public perception and policy, often leading to a lack of accountability for those who make false claims. Transitioning to contemporary issues, Shapiro discusses the Biden administration's recent actions, including a wave of commutations for individuals convicted of nonviolent crimes. He expresses concern over the implications of these decisions, particularly regarding public safety and the message they send about accountability. Shapiro highlights the absurdity of pardoning individuals connected to serious offenses while simultaneously failing to address the consequences of crime in American communities. The podcast also addresses the ongoing immigration crisis, with Shapiro noting that the Biden administration's policies have led to a surge in illegal immigration. He references New York City Mayor Eric Adams' acknowledgement of the challenges posed by unaccounted migrant children, emphasizing the need for a coherent immigration strategy that prioritizes safety and accountability. Shapiro shifts focus to the FBI's handling of the January 6th Capitol riot, referencing a recent report from the Department of Justice that reveals the agency's failure to adequately prepare for the event. He discusses the presence of confidential human sources within the crowd, suggesting that while the FBI had informants monitoring the situation, they did not take necessary precautions to prevent the violence that ensued. This raises questions about the agency's accountability and effectiveness in managing domestic threats. The podcast concludes with Shapiro's reflections on the broader implications of these issues for American society. He argues that the media's failure to uphold journalistic integrity, combined with political agendas that prioritize narratives over truth, has led to a fractured public discourse. Shapiro calls for a reevaluation of how stories are reported and the importance of due process in the face of serious allegations.